welcome to Sales Talk with HCRM. I am Riya Kulkarni, your host for the episode. And today we have one of the leading business and executive coaches with over 30 years of rich experience working with leading Indian companies and Fortune 100 multinationals. It's none other than Mr. Biman Gandhi. Welcome to Sales Talk, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Riya. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, since you have a long journey, like of 30 years, so can you please tell me more about yourself first?
Yeah, sure. See, basically, I'm qualified as an engineer
Right.
and spent I would say bulk of my career doing a lot of stuff related to engineering. And as it happens in a lot of people's lives, you start at a junior level and then you grow up in the hierarchy. You go to play management and leadership roles. So that's precisely what happened, and that
Right.
continued happening for nearly about 22 years. But then later, of course, I changed the path. I changed my career from being typical technocrat to something as business and executive coach.
Coach.
And that happened about 8 years back. And then, of course, the learning continued even while I was working as an employee in different capacities. I kept learning a lot of things. I kept exploring. The life has been very kind to me, so it gave me a lot of opportunities,
Right.
and I'm still learning.
Right. Great. Great. So, how did you decide to switch to altogether a different career?
Well, in my case, I won't say, it was neither planned nor it was sudden. So it was, somewhere in between. Like I said, for nearly 22 years, I worked with a lot of corporates and, with some large Indian companies and some of the Fortune 100 multinationals.
Right.
And having played diverse roles, I have played roles like project engineer. I have done plant maintenance. I have been to site to install erection, to do the installation, erection and commissioning of different plants. Then playing some roles into management, variety of roles in business development, in operations management, also spearheading some initiatives. I think I've been attracting a lot of opportunities, but that also kept me afloat in terms of exploring new things and learning new things.
Right. Right.
So it wasn't really planned, as I said, but somewhere there was always a feeling that okay, I am probably cut out for something different, and I think when it happened in I think in September 2015. That was my last employment with one of the Canadian company. I was heading their India operations in the capacity of executive director.
Okay.
And for some reasons, some geopolitical reasons, the company decided to suspend the operations in India. And
Okay.
in other words, it meant that I lost my job. So I had two options, whether to continue, doing what I was doing in my corporate life. So find another job and be
Right.
part of another corporate, or try something different on my own. And I chose the second option, and here I am.
Right. Right. Then, how you change? I mean, how come you switch to become a business coach? I mean, who? I mean, is it someone is there who used to admire him, and then you probably follow his path, and then you become a business coach, or what is like?
Yeah, it didn't happen exactly like that. Yeah, there were some people whom I used to look up to in my corporate career. They were some of my peers, so people who
Right.
were of the same age, maybe having the same designation, doing more or less the same thing that I was doing. So I was looking up to them. And then there were some senior professionals as well. So yeah, so there was a bit of inspiration, or there was a kind of tinkling that okay, I want to become like them, but not precisely what I am doing. So nobody was in that kind of role. When I was more on management and leadership roles,
Right.
obviously, as a manager or as a leader, you are basically limited to take care of only few aspects, which is people and processes. So
Right.
you make sure that things happen. So while doing that, I discovered that I was anyway informally doing a lot of coaching activity. So I used to work with colleagues who came from different background, colleagues who carried different kind of characteristics. They had their own own set of challenges.
Right.
And I was, in a way, a kind of a catalyst helping them to navigate their way through. So that started happening informally. I think probably 7, 8 years informally I did that. And
Right.
when the time came to do something on my own, then I decided why not to just continue on that journey. I was doing it informally. Now let me formally position myself as a coach.
Right. That's great. That's great. So you have been working for the past 30 years, as you said. So what are
Mhm.
the major changes that you have observed?
Within those 30 years, let's say, about 15, 20 years back, when let's say I had about 10 years of experience, one of the first thing that hit me, or kind of occurred to me, that oh, this is different, this is something that you can label as a change.
Right.
uh, and I think that was a generation gap. So let's
Mm.
say when I think in 2011, 12, when I was working as a manager, project manager, and I had a team of people reporting into me, and those team members were hardly 10 years younger than me, only 10 years younger than me. Okay, not very young, or the
Okay.
age gap
Yeah.
was not very different. So what I realized, the way they think, the way they do their things, their aspirations and their thought process, when I started analyzing that, I thought, oh, now the generation gap is reducing. Earlier, it used to be a really clear
Clear.
one
Yes.
generation. So about 25, 30 years of gap, and you call it, oh, it's a different generation.
Right.
But that gap shrinked a lot. So generation gap is something that I think is changing very fast. Then, of course, we all know that there are technologies which are changing very, very fast,
Yes.
which keeps you on your toes. The skill levels have changed significantly. So probably and you call it, the functional skills, behavioral aspects, or even soft skills,
Right.
the kind of skills that we possessed or we carried, over from our universities, and when we started our career, probably we had very limited number of skills. But today's generation has a lot of
Yes.
different skills. So
Right.
that's one positive change. Another thing that we all know and we keep talking about is globalization. The world is shrinking.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, there are some negative aspects of it, but I think there are more positive than the negatives. So that is one thing which has changed. Um, I think I worked with a lot of overseas companies. One of my because I work with some of the Fortune 100 multinationals. I also had an opportunity to visit around 40 different countries,
Mm.
and not just visit, just stay there, not just visiting, sitting in the aircraft and be there for a while,
Right.
but I also worked there. So what I have realized is that over a period of time, there is a greater degree of acceptance of Indian talent in the global superpower countries. So the companies, the Western countries, as we tell them,
Right.
they have more acceptance of Indian talent, which was not really the case when I started my career. So that is something which I can clearly see that it is changing. On the other hand, the purposes of lives have changed. I think, initially maybe my grandparents or my parents probably were striving and, spending their time, energy, everything into just ensuring that, we survive and we do well. So
Right.
so that was the purpose of life. People used to only work hard, do everything possible they can for survival. But now I think the survival of this generation is greatly taken care of. So they are craving for more. They are not settling for less.
Right.
There is more and more craving or hunger, and that's why we see every other day some beautiful innovations which are happening, just because
Yes.
the people are settled in terms of their survival. For majority of the people, the survival is not really the challenge anymore. So that
Right.
has changed. And I think nowadays, we talk about a lot of automated stuff, artificial intelligence, and
Yeah.
things of that kind. And I think Chat GPT, like
Yes.
tool, has become
Yeah.
a real buzz.
True.
What it tells us is that probably humans have learned to outsource some of the non-critical tasks to machine or to software, so that they can exploit their own potential more and more. Otherwise, if you don't have those kind of tools or software available at your disposal, probably you'll still be busy, because everybody has a
Yes.
limited
Yes.
time, right? You will
Yes.
still do those basic stuff. But I think over a period of time, humans have learned to outsource those non-critical tasks and giving it away to machines and softwares and whatever you want to call it, so that they can focus more on exploiting their own potential. So this is a significant change which has
Yeah,
happened.
actually, it has made the life very easy. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it has very simplified
yeah,
life of humans. So yeah, that's great.
right.
So, what is your greatest professional achievement as a coach? Any experience you want to share with us?
I think, one of the, okay. So when you talk about, professional achievement, probably, you would like to hear answers like, oh, I have coached these and that, a personality or, somebody who is
Right.
in a very high position. Yeah, that has happened, but I don't consider that as an achievement. I think even before that, when I declared or announced myself as a coach, the situation was not the same as it is today.
Mm,
Let me explain you that.
right.
About 8 years back, when I went to one of the business clubs, and when in normally business clubs you meet with a lot of fellow business owners, and people are doing different kinds of businesses, and what happens in those business clubs is that you need to introduce to your fellow member, to your colleague, that what are you into.
Mm,
So when I said business coach, it was kind of a surprise for them.
mm,
The term of professional coach, or let's say business coach or an executive coach, was not popular on one hand. At the same time, it was not really accepted even as a profession.
mm,
So when you say coach, people with their own understanding, using their own understanding, they will label you as a trainer. Oh, so you are a trainer. Or you will,
right.
they will say, oh, you are a motivational speaker, and I'm none of them. I'm
Right.
I'm not trainer. Yeah, I do some training, but I'm not really a trainer. Yeah.
Right.
So it was very difficult to really get into their heads or clarify into their heads that, oh, coaching is a different profession and how different it is. So it took me some time and effort, and I'm sure there are a lot of other coaches also who face the similar difficulty.
Yes.
Yeah, probably they also put in a lot of effort. So establishing coaching as a profession, I think, is the achievement. Okay,
Right.
so eliminating that misconception or clarifying in a simple word to make them understand how coach can be helpful to their business. So that was one of the significant achievement. Apart from that,
Right.
yes, I have coached a lot of top executives, which includes some directors of the company, vice presidents, the
Right.
CEOs or C-level, people. I have also had a fortune to work with 7 startups, helping them to put them on a reasonable roadmap.
Right.
Apart from that, I have worked with about 60 plus business owners. So these are some
Right.
numbers, but I think still the significant achievement remains to establish
Yes.
myself as a coach.
That's great. That's great. But I know sometimes it happens, right? कि मैं कोई भी कोई client है and he tells you something which change our lives,
Yeah,
like happiest moment होता है कि when our client is happy with you, that what
yeah,
you said or something. So is there any experience you remember?
yeah. In fact, last year I was attached with one of the largest companies in Pune.
Right.
Okay, and it's quite old company. I worked with 3 of their VPs. One of the VP is promoted as president.
Okay.
There were 2 directors. Those 2 directors have got added responsibility. So earlier they were given a responsibility of a specific plant. Now they're handling different plants, so multiple plants. So that is an
Right.
achievement because they are able to explore and exploit more
Right. Right.
within the same organization. There was one functional head. He was a plant head. He unfortunately did not continue with the same organization. Very recently, he has changed. But now, when he has changed, he from plant head he has directly become a vice president of another equivalent company
Wow. That's
overseas.
nice.
There was one gentleman. Again, he did not continue with the same company, but he is now in a role of a consultant where he is actually helping multiple organizations. So the idea is to basically do the personal development, helping people to really,
Yes.
kind of realize their own potential so that they can grow and flourish.
Yes,
So
that's great.
those are some really proud moments.
Yes, I'm sure it's a proud moment. I'm sure. So, you currently serve in many roles, like including CEO, business coach, management advisor, and chief mentor to several organizations. So, how do you manage so many things on daily basis? So, any tips or tricks to become a successful multitasker?
Multitasking, okay.
Yeah,
So let us understand multitasking first, Ria. Uh, can I ask you some questions?
sure.
Okay. Right now, are you just speaking or speaking and listening both?
Yeah, speaking and listening both.
Okay. So you are
Yeah.
doing at least two things.
Yes.
So you are basically, using two different faculties,
Yes.
human faculties, that is ability to speak and ability to
You
listen.
do? Yes.
Yeah. Are you doing anything else other than speaking and listening?
No.
Are you not breathing?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I am.
So that's the most important ability, right? If you
Yes.
don't breathe, you will not survive.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so now you are doing three things. You are speaking, listening, and breathing. Are you doing
Breathing.
anything else?
Maybe I am watching you. I am like seeing you, like what exactly you are speaking, So, yeah, maybe that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
probably trying to digest what I am or
Yeah,
comprehend
exactly.
what I am speaking.
Yes.
At the same time, because you are in a role of an interviewer today,
Yeah.
you probably are also in your back of your mind. You are thinking about the next question.
Yes.
How can you connect the answer of
Yes.
my current answer to the next question, right?
Yeah. How can I
So,
link your answer? Then I can probably go on to next one, linking that. So, yes, I am doing it.
so are you multitasking then?
Yes, probably. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Because I am doing three, four things at a time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So why you are able to do that is because, in nutshell, you are using your multiple faculties or abilities of your body or of your existence in such a way that it does not interfere with anything. When I am speaking, you are listening. When you are speaking, I am listening.
Yes.
Right. So
Right.
this is something that we have kind of those faculties are tuned, and
Right.
breathing happens unconsciously anyways. Even while you are in a deep sleep, breathing continues to happen, right? So what is multitasking is basically when you are able to do multiple
Things.
tasks
Yes.
without interfering one task into another or jeopardizing one task with the other.
Right.
If you achieve that level of ability, then you are a successful multitasker. Okay.
Right.
But while you are interviewing me, obviously you can't go to kitchen and start cooking, right?
Yeah. Right.
Then it will interfere this interview process.
Yes.
So these are two different tasks which require maybe different location, different kind of abilities. Your organs that you will use for cooking are different than what you are using now.
Right.
So if you understand this difference, then you will be able to understand, okay, what can be multitasked and what cannot be.
Mm.
So in
Yeah.
my role, like you mentioned, I am the CEO of one company. I am a business coach. I'm a, chief strategic advisor to some other company. Those things do not interfere with each other. I'm doing one thing at a time, and
Yes.
in that process, I'm able to give my best. So that's
Right.
how I am able to manage multiple assignments. And as a business coach or in a freelancer role like mine, you have to have multiple assignments. But the key thing here is that you are not mixing things with each other.
Right.
Does
That's a
that help you?
yes. That's a great learning for all of us right now.
Yeah,
Multitasking.
yeah,
So you shared a very good thing with us. Thank you so much for that.
my pleasure.
Yeah. So, what is your leadership mantra?
Quite a few. When you say leadership mantra is basically something that you have realized over a period of time. Nobody comes and gives you a letter, say that, oh, you are a leader from tomorrow. At the most, they hand you a letter, a promotion
Right.
letter, and when they say, okay, you are a manager or a senior manager or a chief manager, all those designations,
Right.
But when it comes to leadership, nobody comes and tells you that, oh, you know, you are a leader now. So uh, it's actually a matter of realization. And when you realize that, okay, now you are probably, sounding or appearing as a leader, what are those things that I have realized over a period of time is that one thing, you take care of the people and then people will take care of you.
Right.
So in other words, putting people first, focus on making people's life easy.
Yes.
That was my mantra when I was, working either as a leader or manager, whatever, I'm not going into the titles and,
Right.
rank, designation or position. But when I realized that, okay, if I really focus on making people's life easy, in other words, try and figure out what are their difficulties, what are their obstacles, what is it that basically annoys them,
Right.
what makes them uncomfortable, what are they inconvenient about. If in
Right.
my capacity, using my designation and my authority, if I'm able to eliminate all of that and make their life easy, then probably they'll be able to focus on what they are meant to. So then they'll be able to uh, give the peak performance. So that was one of the things, making people's life easy
Right.
or putting people first. Another thing that I also realized was uh, the team working under you. Let's say, if you are a manager or a super manager, whatever,
Right.
and there is a team working for you, uh, their their inherent and unspoken expectation from you as a leader is that you protect them no matter what, and that requires courage. So courage is one quality that you require as a leader, to stand for what is right and also in the interest of the organization. Now, in the process of just protecting your people, you don't have to just unduly favor them. Okay, just don't protect them or favor them just because they are your team. Most of the
Right.
people and manager mess up things. They are so hell bent on protecting their team, so much so that they ignore the interest of an organization. So here multiple things come. One is you have to have the courage to stand for what is right,
Right.
and you have to also have the balance to think that what is in the best interest of an organization. Okay, so that is another mantra.
Right.
Then tie everyone with a purpose. uh, you know I think one of the most important thing that one needs to do as a leader is to really convert everything into a mission mode. So here is a challenge, here is a requirement, here is a need, there is a problem to be solved. Whatever you pick up, you convert that or articulate that into a mission. and and you will see that when people are working on in a in a mission mode,
Right.
their effectiveness is much higher. So things happen more effectively when you convert everything into a mission mode. So in other words, tie everything with a purpose, and thereby you are converting the challenges or situation in front of you into a mission.
Right.
And one last thing is uh, spend more of your energy in developing the strength. Everybody has strength and weakness, even I do, you do,
Yeah.
right? So focus and divert your energies in developing the strength more than working on the weaknesses. I'm not saying that you don't or ignore, you don't do anything about weakness or you ignore the
Right.
weaknesses. That's not really the message, so don't misinterpret here.
Yeah.
But focus more on developing the strength, and if you have the energy and time left, then you work on weaknesses as well. So
Right.
these are the few things that I tried to do uh, when I played a role of a leader.
That's great. That's great. So, what are the qualities of becoming a great business coach?
uh, there are quite a few. First of all, I think you have to be an excellent communicator.
Right.
uh, and communication has many facets. We all know about the tonality, the voice modulation.
Yes.
How do you really exhibit your body language?
Right.
So these are basics of communication that is required. But in other than those aspects of the communication, you also have to have a lot of empathy. Communication also means not, it's not that you speak in as simplified or in a in a very fluent manner. So those are part of it, but at the same time, you also should be able to listen actively. So
Right.
active listening is very
Listening.
much part of or integral part of being a good communication. So communication, again, like I said, multiple facets. Is something that you need to have. As a coach, one change, if somebody is taking up a profession of coach, uh, and if they are relatively new, I think one thing that they need to remind themselves until it really becomes a habit is to uh, be in a be in a mode where you are not prescribing anything. You are not a
Mm.
consultant, you are a coach. Okay,
Right.
there is a difference between consultant and a
Mm.
coach. Consultant is more like a doctor.
Mm.
You go to a doctor after initial diagnosis or after explanation of your suffering or symptoms. He will start prescribing, right? He writes a
Right.
prescription.
Yes.
And then you, as a patient, you have no choice but to go out in the pharmacy and get that medicine,
Yes.
right?
Right.
So that is a prescription which happens. Consultants are also pretty much like that. With all due respect to both doctors and consultants, they also give you instruction that, okay, let's say there is a technical consultant or a manufacturing expert who goes visit the plant and he looks at, okay, these are the areas where improvement is required, these are the changes that, so he basically in his report he gives certain number of recommendations. That's what
Right.
consultants do, right? And again, with all due respect, they are absolutely
Yes.
right. They are the authority on the subject, pretty much like the doctor. But in coaching, remember, you have to remind yourself that you are not really an expert of any business. Today, I am coaching with a company which is into software development. There is a company which is selling software solutions, pretty much like
Mm.
what Edge is doing.
Right.
There are companies which are into metal and machining. There are companies which are manufacturing machines. Now, am I an
Mm.
expert of any of these? No, I'm not really an expert. I know I have a superficial knowledge about the specific nature of the business, but my role is not really providing any consultancy or not exhibiting any sort of expertise. My
Right.
role is to help them find solutions to their problems using the conversation domain. So coaching is practiced in a conversation domain, pretty much like what we are doing.
Right.
So instead of providing any solutions, even if you know the solution, try to restrict yourself, not thumping your solutions into them.
Mm.
Because unless and until the person through the conversation figures out, oh wow, this could be an area where I can probably work and I can find
Right.
a solution. So your role is more of a facilitator to arrive at a solution. So that's what is required in coaching. And then of course there are a number of other things, like you need to be very patient, because
Patient.
getting around the solution is not really kind of it just doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen
Right.
sometimes in just one conversation. So you have to have a lot of patience, depending on the nature of the person, the characteristics of the counterpart. You also have to have different approaches. So these are the things that you need as a coach.
Right. Right. True. So, what difference do you find while working with startup versus a large organization?
I would like to begin by saying that the company which you think are big today were probably very small, maybe 3 years back, 3 decades back, or 3 centuries back, isn't it? No
Yeah.
company starts big.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
You are a grown-up girl. I am a grown-up man now, but
Right.
we were also a child at one point of time.
Yes.
So that's really the difference. Now the child, let's talk about the startup or a child. Okay, when the child is growing up, what child is doing is basically acquiring a lot of skills, learning a lot of skills,
Yes.
gathering a lot of information, understanding and comprehending out of a lot of experiences, good or
Yes.
bad. Yeah. And then accordingly that shapes the character of a child when the child continues to grow to become an adult. So working with child or working with startup and working with a grown up or a large company, the approaches have to be different. When you are working with a child, you can't really expect certain things, because the child is more in an absorption mode.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
you need to have a different approach compared to the approach that you probably can have with a large company.
Large organization. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So how, now coming back to the clients again. So
Mhm.
how do you handle stubborn clients?
Well, I don't I okay, how do you handle stubborn clients? So I would say, by believing strongly that there is no stubborn client. Okay, so
Okay.
that's the first correction that you have to do in your thinking itself. It's all about
Right.
thinking, right?
Right.
There is no stubborn client. Now, you probably, out of your experience, you would say, no, 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 that's not true. I have had,
Yes.
I had, in past, I had handled one stubborn client, and I actually miserably failed. Okay, as an
Okay.
example.
Okay.
And then you will say, you will not agree that, oh, no, you are wrong. There are stubborn clients.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's, labeling somebody as a stubborn
Stubborn.
client, that itself is a wrong thing. I would rather say, probably provide different labels. The stubbornness come in different forms. So some clients may be indecisive. Okay, they are not able to take decisions. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. Some clients, like I said, are indecisive. There are some
Right.
clients who probably are very aggressive,
Right.
and you label them as stubborn.
Stubborn.
Okay, but he's aggressive. He's not indecisive.
Yeah. Right.
Then there are some clients who are skeptical.
Hmm.
They have suspicion and doubts, and lots of
Confusion.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some clients who are confused.
Yes.
There are some clients who are impatient.
Yes.
Yeah, they need now. You tell me the price now. You tell me or you deliver the product tomorrow. So, depending on this revised labeling, if the client is impatient, can you not have a different strategy to deal with a client who is
Right.
impatient? If the client is aggressive, you probably would decide that, okay, if he is aggressive or she is aggressive, I will probably exactly do opposite of that. So
Right.
there is something called as lead leg approach, and then you drag, because somebody who is very aggressive and talks in a very high pitch, and if he continues to do so, but if you are very calm and composed, he has no option but to come to your level,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's kind of tactic that you can use. So depending on the labeling, but not labeling them as a stubborn client, you label them differently, you will automatically find the, oh, for these kind of clients, for indecisive clients, I have a specific strategy. For
Right.
skeptical clients, I have a different tactic.
That is. Yeah.
For impatient clients, I have a new approach. So then you will find the ways and means, and probably you can take help from your seniors, okay, after labeling the client, and you deal with it. So that's how I
Right.
have been doing it.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. There is so much to learn from you. I mean, it's great. I mean, so any quote you think summarizes your life?
Oh, summarizing my life. um, well, I have been writing a lot of thoughts and quotes on my own, and I published them under Biman Ki Baat. So
Yes.
our prime minister, he made this Man Ki Baat very popular,
Yes.
and he has been doing it for more than 8 years now. So, and my name is Biman, so I thought, why not
Yes.
to,
Biman ki baat. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
so ride on the wave.
Yes.
So I did that, and so I've been publishing a lot of my own thoughts from my daily observations. Every time I interact with my client, every time I conduct a training, or even if it is, let's say, non-business meetings, I'm just meeting people just to know them. Out of those interactions and daily observations, something, if it catches my mind, I try to convert that into a thought, and I think there are more than 500 plus quotes.
Right.
But one thing that actually made a great impact on my life is one quote. There are two, basically. One of them is, and I strictly follow that, and I also show it on many of my training slides. And that quote is, empowering others, you become more powerful. So it's all about others. Empowering
Right.
others, you become more powerful. And enlightening the path of others, again, it's about others. Enlightening the path of others, you find your way. So that's one of
Right.
the quotes that drive everything that I'm doing. The other thing that I have realized, thanks to my clients, that a lot of time, people lack clarity, and all the chaos, all the confusion, all the frustration, all the desperation, all the negative aspects that you can think of is purely because they don't have adequate clarity.
Right.
And by the way, Ria, I'm happy to share that I'm writing a book on clarity.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, hopefully it should be out in the market in next 2 months. The
Amazing.
Yeah. So the next quote is also the title of my book, which is
Okay.
more the clarity, better the reality.
Nice. Super.
Yeah,
That's good. So thank you so much. I am waiting for that book to buy. कि कब
sure.
आएगी and कब मैं market में जाके I'll buy that.
Sure.
Also, thank you so much for coming in here and sharing your insightful journey with us with HCRM. So thank you so much once again and making it a huge success for us. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks a lot, Ria. And thank you to you and the entire team of Edge for having me on this platform, giving me an opportunity to express and share some of my experience and little bit of tidbits. Thank you so
Yes.
much. And I wish you and also the team all the very best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.